Hey guys, me and Link here. I want to bring you a quick video on functioning your Behmor at home. Behmor is one of my favorite at-home brewers, one of the only SCAA certified brewers. It has some amazing features, and I'm telling you what, if you're looking for a brewer at home, we actually offer this through our subscription. You can sign up for our 2 years of coffee with the Behmor included, and you can actually start brewing like this at home. Great coffee every single day. And the features on the Behmor, they're absolutely unreal. So let's dive in. One of the very first things I want to talk about is the water reservoir on top. We can never start this brewer without water in the top reservoir. Now there's markings in the top reservoir for calibration. There's markings in there for 6 cup and 8 cups of coffee, but something that we've found with the Behmor is its maximum ability to make coffee is 1.2 liters, so 1,200 milliliters. Now at 1,200 milliliters, we found that your best coffee grams in there is going to be 60 grams, a little light, but 60 is what we've found has the coffee performs the best. So that breaks us down to, and I know this is going to sound crazy, but that breaks us down to about a nickel, 0.05, a nickel per gram of coffee, per gram of water. So when I pour my water in the top, all I got to do is grab my little scale, find out how much water I poured in the top, and then multiply that by the nickel, by the 0.05, and we'll find out how much coffee to put in. So you can do as little or as much coffee as you want, and this brewer will handle that up to a certain extent. There's a minimum and a maximum, but to a certain extent. But the biggest thing that we're going to talk about again and again, you cannot run this brewer without water in it, and you cannot accidentally let it run without water in it, because it does have an auto feature where it's going to brew for you in the morning. So for now, I'm going to throw my 1,000 milliliters of water in the top, just so I don't forget to do that. And that 1,000 milliliters of water in the top, I'll put the top back on and talk to you guys about some of the features. Now, the mode button, top left, is going to be hard for you to come in and out and see this, so I'm just going to explain it to you. It's very simple. You have a mode button on the top left, you press it once, and you set your time for your auto brew. So by default, it's set to go off at 7 a.m. So if you were to press auto, the auto button, this coffee brewer would automatically brew at 7 o'clock in the morning. So again, super important that water's up there if you do have the auto setting on. So the auto brewing time you can set, then we're gonna hit mode again. Our pre-soak or pre-infusion, again, another amazing SCAA certified brewer feature. This is gonna pre-infuse our grounds just like when we're doing our pour over coffees. We do the bloom, we make that coffee swimming pool, we do our bloom. Super important that we bloom that coffee before we brew it. All that coffee is not ready for, your first, I would say in a 300 gram cup, 20 grams of coffee, 300 grams of water. If you're just pouring your water straight in there, your first, I'd say about 100 grams of water is just shooting right through that coffee without it really being ready to be brewed. So the pre-soak is an unbelievable feature. You won't find it in almost any other thing. It's amazing. It will do wonders for your cup of coffee in the morning. So a rule of thumb that I use for that is a second for every gram of coffee. So if you are using the full 60 grams, my rule of thumb would be 60 seconds for that brew time. That starts to get excessive in those larger numbers, like when you're brewing 60 grams of coffee, a whole minute for it to sit there gets a little excessive. So I sit around, let's say we have a max number about 30 or 40 seconds. So by default, when you plug this in, it's actually going to be set the pre-soak for 40 seconds. So it's kind of great. You can just plug it right in and let it be. Our brew temperature, again, SCAA has a lot of hoops that Joe has to jump through at Behmor here to get a certified brewer. Picking that brew temperature, so freaking cool. If you are a coffee freak like me, that's freaking cool. So you can set that 208, 209, 202. Elevation is going to be a big part of that, and your water is going to boil at a lower temperature the higher elevation you're at. So you're not going to be able to, if you're like me up in the mountains, you're not going to be able to brew with 208 degree water as much as you'd love to. It's just not going to happen. So I usually leave mine set around 202, which is the top end of the SEAA standard is 202. And that's okay. By the time it hits my vessel and is ready to drink, it's going to be around 200. And again, Joe over at Behmor, the vessel has to hold temp for at least a minimum of 30 to 45 minutes for him to get his certification. So I'm not kidding you. If you like your coffee to stay hot, this thing is on point. No joke, no heat, no post-brewing heat is being applied. It's just an amazing vessel. So picking your brew temperature is fantastic. We jump from that to the time. Obviously we can hold the time on there. It'll display the time for you. Mine, I just plugged in, so it's set at 12:13 in the morning. So it's a really early cup of coffee. But you can set your time, and then obviously when you set your time, you can then use your auto feature. If you want your alarm to go off in the morning and you want a fresh pot of coffee the second it goes off, this is it. Set this thing for 6:45. It'll go off and be done at 7. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's such an amazing way to start your day. Then after our time, it goes to calibrate. Calibrate's what we were talking about with like elevation and when your water boils. If you want, you can just go to this calibrate and hit start. You put water in it. Obviously the water, super important. You put water in it to that calibration line. You hit start, and it just, when the water starts to boil, it takes note of that, and away you go. It takes note of it, you shut it off, you fill it with the water that you want to brew with, and it's done. So again, a pretty awesome feature with this Behmor. And then after calibrate, we are heading right back to the main screen where the magic happens. Right here on the main screen is when you can press auto. If you press auto, it's just gonna say auto is on, and there's gonna be a big display of what time that's gonna go off. And remember, what was the most important thing of what time that's gonna go off? You gotta have water in it. If you run this without water in it, it will fry the boiler. And there's just no easy fix for that, okay? So we're gonna turn our auto off because we don't want it on, and we're gonna brew a cup of coffee. Now, I used, if you remember, I said I used 1,000 milliliters or 1,000 grams of water. That 1,000 grams of water times my nickel, my 0.05, is 50 grams of coffee. I already weighed out our 50 grams of coffee on our trusty scale. So all we're gonna do is grind this for the Behmor. Couple of cool little features with the Behmor. It does come with a reusable metal filter, but I am a paper filter guy to the core, and it does fit these little bun paper filters absolutely perfectly. It's phenomenal. Joe over at Behmor has thought of everything, I kid you not. So I'm a paper filter guy, and I'm also going to cheat a little bit. I also have a massive Malkuna EK43 that I'm gonna grind my coffee with, and it'll only take me a second. When we're talking grinders, you can check in. When we're talking grinders, you can check into another video about grinders anytime. I'm sure we'll do tons of them. You do not have to break the bank. In fact, right behind the brewer, I have a little Mr. Coffee. I'm pretty sure I picked up at Walmart years ago when I was in a jam. And it is a burr grinder, and that's gonna be kind of what you're looking for. You're gonna be looking for a burr grinder, a conical burr grinder, and in metal or ceramic. Ceramic if you can find it, which sometimes is a little bit more, but a burr grinder is gonna be kind of your starting point for great ground coffee. And we'll dive into that more with some grinding videos. But I do get to cheat and grind in a fraction of a second with a big old boy. So I'm gonna take the 50 grams of coffee, and again, I have 1,000 grams of water in my top reservoir. 50 grams of coffee, dump it in. Then, I'm not kidding you guys, you wonder about this sometimes this is obviously an uncut video because you can see the pup the whole time. 50 grams of coffee, put it in, start button's on the right here. You press start to turn it on, and that's it. Your coffee is brewing. It will beep at you when it's done. No joke, guys. If you're looking for a brewer at home, right now we're offering this brewer. It's 2 bags of coffee a month, and you get the brewer for 2 years. It's basically our subscription program. You're gonna keep getting phenomenal coffee. Matt and I and Daniel, we're gonna be picking out some of the best coffees in the world and sending those out in our subscription. You're gonna get 2 of those bags every month, and we're gonna send you the brewer. And all it is a 2-year commitment there where you're just saying, hey, we'll keep getting the 2 bags of coffee every month for 2 years. You're not gonna find a better deal. You can also just pay for it up front. You can just buy it outright. When you sign up for that, we're gonna give you a call and just walk through it with you and make sure there's no questions. But again, water in the top, ground the coffee, put it in the thing and press start. It doesn't get any easier unless you set it up on auto. The features on this thing, absolutely unbelievable. Again, shout out to Joe. He's thought of everything. It is one heck of a brewer. Thank you guys very much. This is a new coffee we're brewing out of Papua New Guinea. Some amazing things we're doing in those Asian Pacific Island coffees. You'll never have better. You'll never have a better cup of coffee. Thanks so much for tuning in. Cheers. Catch us, yeah. We did it. That was it. We did it.